This cult of liberalism has replaced church. Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York, who I think is still mayor. The governor of New York threatened to remove him from office because he's doing such a bad job in Manhattan right now. Mayor Bill de Blasio was asked a question at a press conference that gets right to the heart of my thesis here. He was asked why he won't let people go to religious services because of coronavirus. Remember that? There was this virus that they told us was really bad and we couldn't go out, but now when it's rioters, it's fine. They said, why won't you let people go to church and synagogue, but you will let them go out and loot Fifth Avenue and mob everybody and riot? Obviously, there's much more social distancing at church than there is in these riots. And de Blasio's answer was that these riots, you call it a race riot, you call it a riot for justice, you could call it looting, or you can call it a liberal riot, the liberalism riot. He says that's much more important than going to church.
This is the other piece of the equation. When you see a nation, an entire nation, simultaneously grappling with an extraordinary crisis seated in 400 years of American racism, I'm sorry, that is not the same question as the understandably aggrieved store owner or the devout religious person who wants to go back to services.
When you see somebody who's been aggrieved by 400 years of slavery, that's much, much more important than people who want to go to church. But don't forget, a lot of the people showing up to these protests, so-called, are white people. So even if de Blasio is right, that nothing has changed since slave days, it's just as bad now as it was in 1859 in the antebellum South for black people. Even if that were true, and it's obviously not true, but even if it were true, why are the little pasty white Antifa kids allowed to go? They're not aggrieved by slavery. They did not have any ancestors who were slaves. Their ancestors weren't brought over on slave ships. Their ancestors weren't segregated against by Jim Crow or redlining or any of those things that you're talking about. So why do they get to go? Because it's actually not a race thing here. It's an ideological point that Bill de Blasio is making.